All right, let's do it. Hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today, and we're gonna do the Brady letter. Don't worry about that. I just want to say that I know that I have been a little bit. I haven't been putting out as much content as I have before this, but to be clear, I am in the stage where you got to fight the state of Wisconsin. And at some point, people always ask this question: what do you do next? What's your redress? Well, somebody's got to file a lawsuit. That's where we're at. And you can build enough coalitions. You can talk to other people. You can do this. You can do that. But at some point, you got to sit down and write it. It's kind of hard to do content at the same time. But in this Brady thing, I didn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. I was mistaken. It's fascinating. And for this very reason, if I haven't mentioned this before, when I was in my 20s, my first public records crusade, I got all of the homicides from this police officer homicides from this Milwaukee Police Department, 2002, something like that. And I went to the UWM Golda Meir Library and went through the microfiche there to look for, and you had to like scroll through the day before, the week before, the week after, and get the little thing, and it was a whole thing. And if I found probably two or three hits, there was two newspapers back then, and if I found two or three hits on any given one, any given shooting, I was pretty happy. And sometimes I would do two out of maybe 60 data points that I had in a day. 2 3 hours of research. Here I'm just googling them, boom boom boom. I don't think the quality is as good, but I don't think that's the point here. Let me headline this for you real quick. We went through the letter um, to the public, basically on the public records request, and there was two things that really struck, just like basically the tone of it, um, which was hostile, and number two, that the public records, they were only giving things that were already basically in the public. And this is true that if you Google many of these things, there will be a newspaper article that's associated. Okay, what's going on here? Well, this is what's called known as a limited hangout. That is, we're going to give you some things to make you feel like we're being open and transparent, but we're going to keep all the secrets um, hidden. So part of what's going on here is they're just giving out, and we've talked about this too, and this is where I intersect with this is as you may know, it's generally accepted that there are one set of rules for everybody else and another set of rules for law enforcement officers in terms of criminally and everything else. So that's part of what's going on here. And we'd like this to be a good data set. Unfortunately, it's not. And the reason for that is that this is only the people who have been either hung out to dry or done something too bad that they cannot, it couldn't be covered up, to be clear. That's what I think we have. These are the people who were publicly charged with crimes, okay? Not the people who could have. So this is all the people who could have been charged but weren't. All the people who they were thinking about charging them, but they didn't. All the people who were simply disciplined. All the people who had letters of reprimand. They know about all these people because they have to talk about them, but this is only the people that they decided to charge publicly. Okay? So what are some hypotheses that we can make about that? I'm guessing that these are going to be the people with the least amount of juice. They're going to be minorities. They're going to be females, particularly. And if they are, white males, um, they are going to have done something extraordinarily bad or have been caught. Um, so that's my theory. We'll test out what it is. I guess the theme of this right now, I'm in the BAs. So we're not talking about the A team. We are talking about the letters in the alphabet here. So I'm going to go through about 10 of these at a time. We'll see how they go, and we'll see what comments that they introduce. Again, the methodology is this, and this is what's so difficult because we'd like to know all the people, basically everybody who was reprimanded, that would be a better data set. This isn't even the people who were fired, right? It's sort of like that. Police officer fired, that happens extremely rarely. Police officer resigns in lieu of termination. Bing, 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 bing. Okay, so that's a game they play, but we need to keep that in mind. That's sort of what we're talking about here, right? The data set that we have is really just the extreme tip of the iceberg, and who knows? I mean, that's the problem. Is the tip of the iceberg could again be data could be completely skewed. It could be all Asians at the tip of the. We just don't know. I mean, statistically speaking, it should be representative, but we would like to have the broader set, frankly. It's also not going to give us the kind of information about what kind of officers, what kind of crimes that they're committing, or or rules that they're alleged to have broken, or it's going to leave out a whole bunch of information. We've got that. Okay, with this restricted set of information aside, because it's going to give you this, sense that all police officers are bad. And that's one reason I think that hiding all the records does a misservice. I mean, I think that if they were to put out all that information, the public would demand that they do something else, and that's why they don't want it. But I also think that just by putting out the extreme examples, it doesn't allow us to either both democratically oversee or understand how these decisions are being made. So let's look at these here. And to do that, I'm going to push this button. All right. Now let's look at old Mr. Abernathy here. I think we can just do this here and we'll go over. I think this is what we've got for him in sort of reverse order. All right, apparently I'm going to have to pause between each one. Journal Sentinel article, Ashley Lutheran, May 9th of 2023. Milwaukee, this is this Abernathy guy. A Milwaukee Rodney Abernathy, a police officer, is accused of grabbing a woman's neck and pointing his department-issued gun at her head during an argument while he was off duty, according to recently filed court records. That, by the way, off-duty officer violence is way more common than you think, and my guess is not reported very often. Rodney Abernathy, 29, faces charges of endangering safety by use of a dangerous weapon, pointing and both misdemeanors. I think we'll get a general sense of that. I mean, hopefully, again, that's what we're looking for is evidence of one rule for them, another rule for everybody else. I don't think we're getting that here because, I mean, we're getting some evidence, but again, the broader scope would be nice. Do you think you would be charged with 2 misdemeanors for pointing a weapon at somebody's head during an argument? Abernathy remains on administrative duty without police powers, meaning he's paid. His attorney, Michael Levine, declined to comment Monday. The initial court appearance has not been scheduled. Court records indicate Abernathy had a relationship with the woman, but it did not meet the state definition of domestic violence. Okay. Wisconsin statutes define domestic violence as involving people who have been married, who have a child together, who live or have lived together. Okay, we can read between the lines there pretty easily. And apparently there was some lawyering there to get him out. Fair enough. Anyone convicted of a crime of domestic violence is, even a misdemeanor is prohibited under federal law from having a gun. Milwaukee Police Department standard operating procedures state any officer found guilty qualifying misdemeanor crime of domestic violence will be terminated. So they would have had to have terminated him had this been domestic violence. Got it. Awesome possum. The woman told police she had gone out with two friends on January 8th and asked her to drop her off at Abernathy's house in Milwaukee. She knocked on the door. He answered and the two had words, the criminal complaint says. According to the charging document, Abernathy eventually came out of the house with his duty gun and grabbed the woman's friends. Tried to intervene. There were witnesses grabbing the woman and yelling, "Let's go." The woman and her friends told police Abernathy continued to push forward with his hands in her neck and pointed the gun at the woman. That's misdemeanor. That's just a misdemeanor. Another woman came out of Abernathy's house and told him to give the gun to her. He refused. The victim and her friend ran back to the car where Abernathy pinned the victim down and raised his gun as if to hit her, but instead hit the windshield. Okay. Let's have this be our touchdown. If Judge Stevens had heard this, 20 to life. I think I can channel Judge Stevens pretty clearly on that one. Years. There would be years handed out. Abernathy told the police the woman had come to his house and had damaged his window. Man, where we heard this before? He admitted to having a loaded gun and raising it, but denied pointing the gun at anyone. He said he pushed the woman in the chest and said he was hit back. Oh, the district attorney's office said the woman was not under review for any potential charges. Boy, howdy, does this sound familiar? All right, here we go. Fox 6. Suspended police officer pleads guilty to operating a firearm while intoxicated. Oh, they're in court. 42-year-old Michael Anderson, a Milwaukee police officer, pleaded guilty on Wednesday, December 14th, to a misdemeanor charge of operating a firearm while intoxicated. A judge then stayed Anderson's sentence and placed Anderson on probation for 12 months. All right. Channel. Get your popcorn and your M&Ms and your Coca-Cola. Dang it. Man, that would be really good to have the opening not Cromwell. Huh. All right. I just want to express my regret and remorse in this the embarrassment I caused myself, my family, and the department. Not to mention the okay. Milwaukee police on September 22nd responded to a call of shots fired near South Griffin Avenue and East Euclid Avenue on the city's south side. Euclid. It was okay. Small thing. We studied Euclidean geometry in St. John's College for quite some time. I'm gonna have to get the punchline to this joke here. But that's not the spheres and the triangles and all of that and the QEDs. That's not what I recall. I will be right back. This story is terrible, and because I've completely messed up the point, but punchline. But man, I just remember one of my math classmates sitting there with tears in his eyes. Man, is his name just escaping me? Just with this joke where a punchline is, here's looking at Euclid. But that's how it goes. All right. According to the criminal complaint, Anderson acknowledged that he fired his service weapon again with the service weapon. A Smith & Wesson 40 caliber handgun twice into his back. Again, these guns in their house, the defendant appeared to be under the influence of an intoxicant. Oh, and the intoxicant was alcohol. Shucks dang it. 0.215. This is being a person from Wisconsin. Everybody knows this except for me, but I don't. That seems like a lot. Anderson was suspended because of the incident. As part of his probation, he is not allowed to use weapons outside of work requirements. Oh, dang it. So he can continue to use a firearm. He doesn't lose his job. You got to be kidding. That's the entirety of the article. All right, cool. Here we go. There's Mr. Anderson. Anderson admitted to the responding officer that he had fired his twice. The state crime lab, he said, more than twice the legal limit considered proof of intoxication. Anderson made an initial court appearance. All right. Wow. That's, dude, that's kind of serious. Hey, um, just as a small shout out to our officers Michael Braunreiter and Officer Jamar Lucky were recognized for their work, their THEIR work, while they were on patrol and heard multiple gunshots. I hope this is not official press release. They drove towards a gunfight between three people. Officer Braunreiter said someone to the street with an AK-47 ordered them to drop it. They did and were taken into custody. Simultaneously, Officer Lucky saw someone walking down the street with a handgun in each hand. He ordered that person to drop their weapons. That person placed the gun down on the trunk of a vehicle and surrendered. A third person was found with several gunshot wounds to his upper torso. Oof. Officer Braunreiter and Officer Lucky, without regard to their safety, intervened during a gun battle. They disarmed the dangerous suspects and placed them into custody without the use of deadly force. Their quick response and extreme bravery prevented additional injury or death to the citizens of that area. That, by the way, is the brother. I think he's now a sergeant. Officer Lucky is now a sergeant, and that is the brother of James Lucky, who is, dismissed from the police department there, um, who should be a law enforcement officer. Just never know what you're gonna find here. Here we go. Byron Andrews was fired as a Milwaukee police detective in September of 2004 as he sat in jail on battery and drunk driving charges, but he continued to collect his $65,000 a year salary. His taxpayer funded wages continued to roll in even after Andrews was convicted and sent to jail. From behind bars, he drew out his appeal before the Fire and Police Commission for months, using provision under a state statute unique to Milwaukee police. That's, that's good lawyering, but I get that. 4 months later, Andrews' appeal was finally set. 2 days before the hearing, he quit. Andrews' case is among several in which fired officers appeal their termination as long as possible and continue to be paid, only to quit before the appeal hearing, according to the Fire and Police Commission. Nearly 40% of the officers fired in the last 2 years who appealed and whose appeals are no longer pending either quit or retired shortly before their hearing. Salary for those 7 officers cost the city taxpayers nearly $170,000. Commission records show. All right. Huh. Interesting, interesting, interesting. All right. Let's see what the next one says. Go. Glendale police officer fired while facing seven child. Wow. A 23-year-old male police officer, formerly of the Glendale Police Department. Glendale Police Department, by the way, is it's where I walk my dogs. That's nearby. That is a fairly affluent suburb that actually is surprisingly diverse, with much more industry than any other suburb that I can think of, and feeds into the Nicolay school district there. Glen Hills is the middle school. I think they call it Ghetto Hills. It's their own school district there. All right. So a 23-year-old male, but I'm saying they got to have 20 police officers at most, maybe 30 these days. All right. Followed the announcement that he's facing, in Waukesha County. How did he get out there? As confirmed by Glendale Police Chief Mark Ferguson through our news partners at TMJ4, Jonathan Angle was charged with 7 counts related to possession in Waukesha County. He posted his $5,000 bail. You would get that. I bet you they got him on a sting. The criminal complaint Angles alleges that Angle uploaded an image which appeared to depict child on the social media forum website Reddit under the username Ricky Slick 698. Six separate images were located on Angle's personal cell phone. I'm just it's my defense brain going out there, but I'm wondering what the heck he was what what did he upload that it was on Reddit and determined. Okay. Investigators searched the data embedded within the post to track his IP address, which confirmed the post came from his Pewaukee home. His personal email address also matched the same three numbers used at the end of his rigid surname. The hell? 698, the complaint stated. Angle allegedly told authorities that he has an addiction, including an interest in oof. And it came, whoa, and whoa. Okay. Well, that's under my theory of significance. Okay. What's the guy's name? Glendale. He works out Angle. Everything about that says to me he lives in Pewaukee. This guy is white. That's my guess. But hey, it's America. Yeah, that's that guy. I guess it was big news. Again, my theory is it's too big to cover up. That seems like too big to cover up. Okay. Oh, this Adwala. Allah W Awadallah. Okay. I get what that's supposed to mean there, but interesting. Okay. Now, this is 2005, so it's a little hard to find, but I remember this. A man who was vowed to become a police officer after his father was fatally shot in the family grocery store will spend a year in prison after being convicted of two federal misdemeanors. Oof. Prosecution paid Ala W. Awadallah, who worked for the Milwaukee Police Department for 7 years as a rogue cop who made a habit of threatening and intimidating civilians. Interesting. The defense contended that he was an overzealous officer and went too far in his determination to get guns out of criminals' hands. I had a passion for the police force. I had a passion for taking pistols off the streets because of what happened to my dad. I did cross the line. I paid the price. Oof. Awadallah, who resigned from the police department, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of depriving citizens of a civil right under the color of law. Okay, let's get to it. He pulled over Earl Cozy, a 25-year-old parolee, for not having license plates on his van. Earl Cozy, my guess, is not white. I'm just shocked that he's 25-year-old with a name like that and not 75. Cozy said he did not give Adwallah permission to search the van, so Adwallah arrested him for not having license plate, handcuffed him, and took his cell phone and shoes. Adwallah said, "Now I have permission to search your car," and proceeded to do so. Then he showed Cozy what looked like cocaine, saying it was enough to charge him with a felony and send him back to prison. Cozy denied that the drugs had been in his car. Eventually, Adwallah agreed to let Cozy go if he promised to get him 2 pistols and an assault rifle. He was going to take them off the streets, not sell them. Before release, that's my guess what he's alleging here. Before releasing Adwallah, that was to prevent him from committing more crimes, is my guess. That when he took the $200 from him, saying that he would get it back once he provided the gun. It was like a deposit on your gun. That's what it was. Adwallah went to Cozy's apartment and conducted a legal search. Several phone calls recorded by Cozy, a voicemail message left on Casey's cell phone, and phone records corroborated Cozy's story. Awadallah spent his first 2 years with the police department as a police aide. He was most recently assigned to District 6 on the city's south side. Before that, he was trained and served as a member of the department's gang unit, which focused on confiscating firearms. Gang unit, I'm thinking YSL. I am thinking, yeah, Atlanta, gang unit, gang unit, gang unit. It's also gang unit people are usually connected. So I'm surprised. Connected with meaning not criminals, maybe not. But what I was thinking is they are connected in terms of they're not gonna be hung out to dry normally. He wanted to go after Milwaukee's most serious offenders, Kohler told the court. His motives was to take the guns off the street. He went about it the wrong way, but his heart and his intentions were good. Got it. Oh, Assistant U.S. Attorney Mel Johnson disputed that characterization. There was no evidence that this was anything other than a shakedown, Johnson said. This was not overzealous police work. This was a police officer that thought he was a big man, thought he could push around vulnerable people for his own benefit. Johnson added that it was easy to infer from this case this is not the first time this defendant did this kind of thing. Whoa. U.S. Magistrate Judge Aaron E. Goodstein denied Adwallah's request for probation or home confinement, instead ordered a prison term of 1 year and 1 day. That's not insignificant. I mean, it is. Now, even if your intentions are good, you're acting as a rogue police officer and and that conduct cannot be tolerated. Any police officer found guilty of similar conduct should go to jail. Anything less would be viewed as a miscarriage of justice. Now, in my mind, I just want you to be clear. I guess, well, I'm going to ask this to you. Do you think it's better or worse to drunkenly shoot off a gun or to point a gun at a woman um, with your knee on her chest than to shake somebody down for $200 in guns? Um, I don't know, frankly. In my mind, I kind of think shooting off a gun probably deserves more prison time than shaking somebody down. Um, yeah, I mean, I can firing a gun drunkenly from your backyard. I mean, especially if somebody got. I mean, if somebody had gotten hurt, shot from your reckless shooting, I think that would be no question, right? So, wow, that's interesting. All right, we are at the 25 minute mark, so we'll just go a little bit further to say Adwala will receive report to prison. He almost must complete 50 hours of community service and repay Cozy the $200. All right. Well, there we have that. Um, should we do one more? Thanks for sticking with us, y'all. We'll keep you informed. That's a big difference. We'll put it like that. And that's state. This is federal court, federal deprivation of civil rights, as opposed to state misdemeanors here. But wow, I don't know. Again, those two gunshots kind of shocking to me. Kind of shocking. Thanks for sticking with us. We will keep you informed.